All right, guys. So today we're going to be talking about a super important topic, breathing. And most people don't realize that there's a proper way to breathe and an improper way to be breathing. And we're going to be specifically talking about how this can lead to increased stress levels and then also lead to shoulder and neck tightness, as well as a couple other injuries and pains as well. So if you guys are dealing with some stress or dealing with some neck and shoulder tightness, the strategies I'm going to be going over is going to help a ton. So stress stress in itself can change the way we breathe, and the way we breathe can also cause stress. So it's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? So sometimes we got to play around with figuring out what's causing what, but changing your breathing patterns can definitely improve and decrease your overall stress levels as well. So we have two different systems. We have our parasympathetic nervous system as well as our sympathetic nervous system. It's like our fight or flight. So if we are if we're in a dangerous situation, or a lot of times if we're like working out and or exercising really intensely, we are in the sympathetic nervous system. This is like the fight or flight response. So, usually in the sympathetic nervous system, when we're in this system, our heart rate's elevated, our breathing patterns change. It's changed from where we're using kind of our shoulders and our chest to breathe versus our diaphragm. I'm gonna be getting into that a little bit more. But essentially, it's our fight or flight, and it increases our cortisol levels as well as our stress levels. And what we should be throughout the day, we should be in the parasympathetic nervous system. And a lot of times, if we're breathing incorrectly or really stressed out, we will be in the sympathetic nerve. We can be in the sympathetic system, a nervous system, more than we're in this parasympathetic nervous system, just at rest and during times when we shouldn't be stressed out or in our fight or flight. And this can change our breathing patterns as well. So I'm gonna be talking about how you can switch to being in your parasympathetic nervous system where you should be at rest and throughout the day, and when you should be in your sympathetic nervous system. So one interesting way that NBA, especially professional athletes, specifically NBA players, are starting to really utilize this, or their trainers are. Uh, so, like I said, during your workouts, you should be in the sympathetic nervous system. Okay, where your heart rate's elevated, your cortisol levels are up, your stress levels are up a little bit, because a little bit of stress is good, but we shouldn't be sustaining stress throughout the entire day. That can lead to a lot of issues, obviously. And so the trainers and medical professionals are like, well, we don't want these athletes to be in the sympathetic nervous system throughout the entire day after they get done with their workout. So what they're doing to switch from using the parasympathetic nervous system to getting into the sympathetic nervous system is a breathing technique that I'm going to be going over with you guys today. All right, because once they're done working out, we want to get those athletes switched back to the parasympathetic nervous system and back to being relaxed and calm and not stressed out. Okay. So we're gonna be going over some strategies for you guys that are a little bit stressed out and maybe in the sympathetic nervous system more than you should. And so let's go over how to properly breathe. So one activity that you guys can do is I want you to go ahead and put one hand on your chest here, and then also one kind of on your stomach. Okay, put your hand, the palm of your hand over your belly button. And what you're gonna do is before I tell you how to breathe properly, I just want you guys to take some time to take a couple breaths, okay, while I'm talking here. And notice which hand's moving more. See if is the top hand moving more or is the bottom hand moving more. Okay, take a couple deep breaths. Okay, breathe normally and just monitor which hand's moving more, because this will give you a good insight before I tell you what it should be so you're not biased. Okay, so what we should be doing, a lot of times people that are having a lot of upper neck and shoulder tightness are breathing too much through their chest. Okay, this when we're at rest, this top hand should not be moving. Should be this bottom hand that's moving. If you're noticing that this top hand's moving more than the bottom hand, means that you're breathing improperly. One way to do this is also laying down. It's a little bit easier to gauge and see, to do this activity laying down, and you'll be able to really notice which hand's moving more too. Okay, so how can this lead to neck and shoulder tightness? So if we're breathing through our chest, Okay, we take 8 to 16 breaths per per minute. Okay, so you can imagine how over the course of the day, if every breath we take, we are elevating our shoulders or elevating our chest to take a breath in. That can those muscles up here have to be producing that movement. Okay, can you imagine if you contract a muscle? Can you imagine if you took your bicep and you for throughout the entire day, 8 to 16 times per minute, you did this, okay, throughout the day, you can imagine that your bicep would be pretty sore. Okay, it's no different with your shoulder, okay, or your chest muscles or your neck. Okay, and so a lot of times people have a lot of like say that they have a lot of knots in their neck or have a lot of knots in their shoulders, and it's a lot of times caused by the way that they're breathing. Okay, there's a lot of other things that can be causing it too, but a lot of times it's breathing. So, for example, I had a patient that um, I had seen her in the past for an unrelated issue. Um, but she had been really stressed out with COVID and everything going on, and she had kids at home and trying to take care of them and do schooling and all that too. And on top of that, she was possibly gonna have to evacuate because of the fires. So obviously a pretty stressful time for her. And she called me, she's like, Ben, I'm having tons of shoulder pain and a little bit of neck pain as well. And and I don't know what to do. I've tried to fix this. It's been going on for about a month and a half. I've gone on YouTube, I've searched when I Google search best exercises for shoulder pain, and it's not getting better. It's actually getting worse. And so I'm like, all right, why don't you come in? We'll go through an assessment. And I had already thought that maybe, what I knew that she was a little bit stressed out. I didn't know the full details of everything, but I could tell just the way she was talking, she was pretty stressed out. And I thought maybe it was just because of the shoulder pain. But anyways, she came in. I was getting ready, and my mindset was to take her through a full shoulder evaluation and do our testing that and orthopedic measurements that we do. And but before I do any testing, I make sure to learn a bit more about what she's tried, what she hasn't tried, what's going on, how she's sleeping, stuff like that, what her diet is. Anyways, I when she was like talking to me, I was watching her breathing pattern, right? I'm exaggerating, but her shoulders were elevating with every single breath, okay? And her neck was really tense because she was really stressed out. And I'm like, how are your stress levels? And she's like, just astronomical. And then she went on to explain her situation and whatnot. So what we did is we worked on her breathing right then and there and focused on, she was just sitting in that sympathetic nervous system day in and day out. And it was leading to a lot of stress. And so we focused on getting her in the parasympathetic nervous system by going through the breathing pattern. Breathing exercise I'm going to take you guys through in just a second. And she texted me 2 or 3 days later. Well, I did some soft tissue work on her, and she was feeling great after the session. But then 2 or 3 days later, the big thing is with soft tissue work, it helps you feel better for a little bit, but if you don't treat the root issue, it's going to keep coming back. Long story short, she texted me like 2 or 3 days later. She's like, "Oh my God, my shoulder feels so much better." I I didn't give her much of anything at all except how to change her breathing pattern. We did do some neck stretches and stuff like that, but the big thing that we focused on was her breathing. And she was having a hard time sleeping, and we went over the breathing strategy. I'm going to show you guys in just a second. And she was sleeping so much better. She hadn't been able to sleep throughout the night in a few weeks, and she was able to fall asleep, and stay asleep throughout the night. And that's strictly because we went through the breathing pattern that I'm going to go over with you guys. So that's how big breathing plays a factor into things. Okay. So next time she came in, see me the week later, she said, she's like, I feel 50%. I feel 50% back to normal. She's like, this has been a huge improvement. It's like I made more progress in this last week, way more, 10 times more progress in this last week than I have the entire month before. So that's the power of breathing. And that's why it's super important to figure out what is causing the neck and shoulder tightness. There's a lot of other things that can cause it, but a lot of times it's things that a lot of people don't think about, such as breathing. Okay. So what is this strategy and how can we utilize it? So it's as simple as laying on your back. Okay, you can utilize this strategy throughout the night, or sorry, before you go to bed or throughout the day. So what you're gonna do again, you should place one hand on your chest, and then place your palm over your stomach. Sorry, palm over the belly button. And what you're gonna do is you're just gonna focus on not moving this hand and letting the bottom hand move, okay, and using your diaphragm. Okay, you don't want to be using your chest. And what you're going to do is you're just going to close your eyes and you're going to focus on trying to push that bottom hand out as far as possible, okay, and monitoring this hand and making sure it's not moving. We're going to do this. You're just going to do this for about 2 or 3 minutes. You can do it longer, but you're going to see huge benefits from just doing it for 2 minutes. Okay, and this just helps put you, one, decreases your stress levels, puts you in the parasympathetic nervous system where you're not in your fight or flight, and ultimately going to decrease the stress as well. All right, so that's it. It's that simple. But a lot of times people aren't breathing properly. Okay, so this is definitely going to help if you're dealing with a lot of stress and you're having a hard time falling asleep. Definitely give this exercise a try. Okay, um, it's going to help immensely. All right, so that's breathing, okay, and how important it is. But to recap, main thing is we don't want to be getting a whole lot of shoulder movements, okay, or breathing this way. Okay, this is breathing improperly. We have our diaphragm that should be producing all the movement and in the intake and expiration of air as well. Okay, it's okay to be breathing and using your shoulders when you're exercising. Okay, your diaphragm can only take in so much air. Okay, so when you're exercising, it's normal to have to breathe like that. You're not doing any problems there or causing any issues. That's just normal. Okay, that's what our body's supposed to be doing. We shouldn't be going in the reverse of that, and that's where a lot of people that are dealing with neck and shoulder tightness as well as stressed out are doing that. They're reversing instead of taking as much air through the diaphragm and then using this as needed during exercise. They're doing the complete opposite. They're utilizing this first, and then when they can't take enough air, and then they start using their diaphragm. Okay, it's completely backwards, and it's leading to a lot of issues. So, hope you guys found that beneficial. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks, guys.